Alrighty, this chapter of Chainsaw Man was massive. Finally, it seems after so long, once again Denji has gotten his mojo back and is ready to take on the world. This is pretty big, and it's also one of the few times that I've actually been right about one of my analyses is. So I'm pretty hyped about that too. So let's go ahead and jump into this strange but hopeful chapter of Chainsaw Man that I think rewrites the way we should think about Denji from here on out. Guys, the last video got 1,589 likes. I want to challenge you to get this one to 1,600 likes. Can you do it? So at first when I dived into this chapter, I was thinking, wait a second, the Marie guy, again? What? Did Manga Plus mess up, or am I finally losing my marbles? Probably the latter, but nah, it's just that Marie guy is living his worst life while Asa stares at Denji running around the lake repeatedly. And I love how you can see the sheer boredom on her face too, like she wants to be anywhere but here. And it turns out, based on the words exchanged between Asa and Yoru, Denji has been doing this for quite some time now. Seems that Denji also hasn't divulged any of his plan to either of the two, so it's a big ol' secret. The ladies figure that Denji is probably the same as the tree guy, trying to flee from reality itself, which is a good observation. Both of them are seemingly repeating the same tasks with the same perceived hope that they will solve their predicament, but Denji keeps running, and we see that with each lap he takes, he is constantly greeted by the aging devil who is trying to sink his optimism and sap his energy to make him give up. And what he really wants is to break Denji so that he will give in to his wish. He wants to get Denji to convince Chainsaw Man to eat him, since their hearts are connected to each other. Denji asks what the outcome is, and like before, it's simple. Many children will be slaughtered and he will be saved. I find it peculiar that this contract feels as if it's not worth it unless you're already a pretty evil person who doesn't care about morality or killing, of course. And Denji points this out. Aging really is extreme compared to some of the other devils who are much less harmful and quite a bit more dumb. But what I do really love about this moment is that Denji tells Aging that Chainsaw Man is a superhero and wouldn't do anything like that. And that the reason he hasn't been eaten yet is precisely because he doesn't want to kill kids to save himself. It's an example of the morality of Pochita that despite being a devil, he doesn't want to, kill random kids. It's also our second sign in this chapter so far that Denji has turned a new leaf. Gone are the days of Denji trying to avoid who he is or trying to protect what is left of his life out of desperation. It truly does seem like Denji is now confronting his reality rather than trying to hide from it. Him even talking about Chainsaw Man in such a way is an example of that. The first was the fact that he was running, BT dubs. And Aging observes this very thing. Denji is optimistic again, and even Denji's response is telling of his mental state at the moment. He says, "Problem?" And it's a simple response that may not mean much on the surface, but it's showing that what others say will not stop him from doing what he wants to do. He is an individual with the agency to make something work and is no longer sitting by the sidelines while his life passes him by. But once more, Aging plays some mind game trickery on Denji to try and get him to fall into a pit of depression, setting up traps through his words to get him to fail. He says that because he's moved on so quickly from the perceived deaths of Nayuta, I still don't believe she's dead by the way, that it must mean he didn't care much for her in the first place. This is smart for Aging to do because he's trying to make Denji feel as if he didn't care about the child in his life, and so, what's a couple dozen kids to slaughter, right? Honestly, throughout this chapter, I really wanted to punch Aging in the face. He was kind of annoying, and I'll explain why later in the video too, because I think Aging is rather interesting in the grand scheme of things. But he tells Aging that he doesn't know anything about Denji and Nayuta's relationship, and that at some point he will find family again somewhere. And this was shocking to me, because it means that for once in one of these videos, I was right. The last chapter showed that Denji is ready to accept his lot in life, move on, and find something new because life keeps on moving on for him. He can't afford to stay in one place forever. He realizes that he will find a family again in this chapter because even if he isn't searching, someone else probably will find him too. I mean, look at Pochita. He found Denji and so on and so forth. And through that, I was able to realize one of the main themes I didn't know was in Chainsaw Man, which was that love and people will find you. It's just inescapable. Denji has always been found by someone, and then that someone usually takes advantage of him, but he still ends up finding people and vice versa. This, to me, completely rewires the way we need to think about Denji from here on out. For most of Part 2, Denji has had this air of depression surrounding him, a dark cloud that has always been over him. But it seems that Denji has come out of the valley and onto the other side, and what he's found are greener pastures. And he's done that multiple times now, so he's learned that life itself is an ever-swinging pendulum, a cycle that is constantly ending and beginning all at the same time, because even if this family dies or goes away, he will be able to rebuild and find a new family. As he puts it, it's a perpetual motion machine. I also love how he tells the bad guys tough luck too. And really, this was the perfect icing on the cake, and if, my dear viewer, you watching are feeling alienated for whatever it may be, do what you need to do to get through it, but realize that the odds are in your favor to succeed. You Asa simps. As long as you keep trying, and keyword there, trying, you will make it through and be able to rebuild and look back on your days of trouble feeling proud of yourself for making it through. And yes, if the worst happens, and again and again and again, you can still do it. It'll suck, but so what? Look at how many times you've already won. Way I see it is you got a 50-50 shot, and those odds are hella good. You're a perpetual motion machine, so get to work. So Denji defiantly tells Aging that if he wants to do anything with his heart, then give him a new family. And side note, wouldn't it be horrible if Aging went bet and Yoru was his new family? Ugh, that'd be tragic for Denji. Anyways, Aging calls Denji even more stupid than Pochita, which is actually kinda true. I mean, think about it. Pochita is a chainsaw dog, Denji is Denji. I don't have a clue what the intelligence stats are for these two characters, but I think Pochita is at least 1 point higher than Denji's easily. So Aging is like, what are you gonna do? Run yourself out of here? And he stops in his tracks in a really awesome shot with an amazing background. Jesus, Fujimoto is so good with these. With sweat pouring from his body, he says, "You're the stupid one, stupid. My escape plan's already in motion. Dun 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 dun." Okay, so here is my theory on what Denji may be planning, and honestly, I have no clue for sure. But my guess is that with no aging, your body doesn't change states. We also know that Denji's heart is connected to Pochita's in the real world. This could lead to some sort of loophole in that Denji is planning to change the state of his body in the hopes that it may shatter the world Aging has created. Why? Because by exercising, his heart may grow, and that would contradict the world of not aging, allowing them all to escape. In other words, the perpetual motion machine that Denji has spoken of. And also think of it this way too, to even say what Denji had said in this chapter is already one example of a contradiction occurring in this world. To accept aging as it is to reject aging itself, right? So it's a contradiction, just like everything. But accepting it? Well, there is effectively no fear to aging, and thus will make aging grow weaker. So Denji in this chapter has financially accepted, why does my script say that? Finally accepted the circle of life and doesn't fear it any longer. That's massive, and it's already given him a huge advantage as is. So the plan Denji has, it may be stupid, but we know that at the core of it, this is the start of the plan. To accept aging in the cycle of life. It's like when people say, the first step is realizing you have a problem, right? Finally, after so many years, Denji has figured out how to live a normal life. Well, and the answer was always in his face the entire time. He was already living it. So what did you guys think about this chapter of Chainsaw Man?